The premier endurance sports car racing championship in North America features the bravest drivers and the most famous automotive brands as they tackle the continent's toughest races. Round 5 of the 2019 IMSA WeatherTech Sports Car Championship is the Chevrolet Detroit Grand Prix presented by Lear. It's time for a fast and furious 100-minute street fight in Motor City. So, fasten your seatbelts, because it's time to go sports car racing. Detroit, Michigan, Motor City, Tiger Town. Ford, Chevrolet, and Chrysler all called Detroit, Michigan home. And for more than 10 years, the best sports car drivers and teams have crossed over the Detroit River and done battle on the city streets of Belle, the 982-acre island located in between Detroit and Canada. As one of only 2 street races on the 2019 IMSA calendar, Belle brings the action of WeatherTech Sports Car Championship racing to the people each summer. Drivers in DPI and GT Daytona tackle the bumpy and fast 14-turn course flying underneath the office buildings of the biggest and most well-known automotive brands from North America. This race is filled with significance in the sports car racing world, with Detroit being the birthplace of Henry Ford's first ever automobile back in 1904. And with corporate executives and passionate race fans all in attendance at Detroit, performance on track will feel as pressure-packed as any weekend all year long. Detroit is home to the automobile, decades of history, hardcore racing, and this weekend, it's home to the IMSA WeatherTech Sports Car Championship. Now let's take a look at some news from the IMSA paddock. As long as sports cars have raced in Detroit, General Motors has won in every class at least once since ALMS began racing here. Wayne Taylor Racing is the winningest team in IMSA competition on the streets of Belle. Ricky Taylor is the second most successful active driver on the street circuit in Detroit, thanks to 3 wins he achieved in 2014, 2016, and 2017, driving alongside his brother, Jordan. The only team with 2 consecutive podiums in the last 2 races is the pairing of Dane Cameron and Juan Pablo Montoya, who won the previous round at Mid-Ohio Sports Car Course. Mario Farnbacher and Trent Hinman lead the championship in GT Daytona by a margin of just 4 points after a runner-up finish at Mid-Ohio, a 7th place finish at Sebring, and a 4th place finish at the season opener back in Daytona. Hindman and Farnbacher's team, Meyer Shank Racing, have won in the streets of Detroit the last 2 years in the GT Daytona category. In 2017, it was Catherine Legg and Andy Lally who drove the Acura NSX to its first victory. Legg won again the next season in 2018 at Detroit, this time driving with Mario Farnbacher. In 2019, Legg will be back in an Acura, but this time it's the number 57 from Heinricher Racing, Meyer Shank Racing. She drives alongside Christina Nielsen. Chevrolet has won on the streets of Belle 9 times, but with no Chevys entered in DPI this season, Cadillac, who has won the last 2 years at Detroit, will represent General Motors this weekend. You could say that Felipe Nasser is the embodiment of the new kind of Brazilian racer. After winning the championship in British Formula 3 and finishing 4th in GP2, he then made the leap to Formula 1, where sadly he was unable to show off his true potential. However, a change came in his professional career and the doors to IMSA became open to the Brazilian driver. And after landing in North America, he finally proved his quality as a world-class driver. The talented Brazilian is always inspired when he arrives in Detroit, because it was at Belle where he earned his first IMSA victory. This is what Felipe thinks about racing in Detroit.
Una carreira muito dura no passado.
Last year was a very tough race, but we managed to get that first victory in IMSA, in an extremely technical track with many bumps. However, the Cadillac has been really good and we really hope to repeat the results this week.
Il mesmo risultato.
Many different forms of data and information are collected by IMSA Race Control during the course of an event weekend. Lindsay Fox tells us what IMSA does with all of that information that is critical to keeping the racing close, competitive, and most of all, safe.
I sit next to the race director. I use the timing and scoring data that we collect. And a little background on that is each car is equipped with a transponder. So a box that will give us the equipment, that will give us a signal as they cross different antennas on the racetrack. So we have a map, I can see the cars all the way around the track, and I use that data to help the race director manage the race. And that is anything from if there's a pass under yellow, I can look at 2 data loops and say, yes, a pass happened there. Then we have to assess a penalty. So I'll tell the race director, bad news. So that's a 2-lap penalty. So it's a pretty big penalty if they do that. As we do pit stops, we also have loops in pit lane. So that's how pit lane speed is determined. So if there's a penalty for pit lane speed. One of the other things I do, each team in pit lane has a computer with instant messaging. So I instant message with all the teams. Sometimes it's us asking them questions. Say a car's stopped on course. I'll send them a message and say, what's going on with the car? Are you able to continue? And the race director will use the information they send back to determine we're going to go yellow, we need to go red to go get the car, kind of what's going on with the car. You know, if they say we're out of fuel, then we know we have to go get them. So we'll go down and go pick them up. Pretty much what I do there, just help the race director run the race using the data that we get from timing and scoring.
Things are always changing in the technical regulations at IMSA. Jeff Carter explains who and what will be affected by the changes heading into the Chevrolet Detroit Grand Prix presented by Lear.
Since our last race, no BOP adjustments in the DPI class. Those guys are running just fine, we think. In GTD, one small adjustment for the new McLaren 720 GT3 car. We've had to add 9 liters of capacity to that tank. It was a little short at the last race, so no performance adjustments at all. Of note this week, one of the keys to success here at Detroit is grip. Being a temporary street course, we've got concrete, we've got asphalt, it's been diamond ground. So one of the keys is how do you get grip across all of those different sections? How you do that is vertical compliance, meaning getting the dampers, the shocks and springs to work just right so that the tire maintains its constant action patch on the ground. One of the other keys is aerodynamics. Long straightaways, twisty corners. How do you balance that? A lot of downforce, not so much. In doing that, you're also generating heat in the brakes. Cold brakes, a long straightaway, cold brakes, could lead for some tricky braking in the brake zones. All 3 of those factors are going to be in play this week here at Detroit.
Fresh off of a win at the Mid-Ohio Sports Car Course in Round 4 of the IMSA WeatherTech Sports Car Championship, Juan Pablo Montoya, co-driver of the number 6 Acura Team Penske Acura DPI, is hungry to get another victory. The Colombian racing driver knows exactly what it takes to be successful on the narrow streets of Detroit.
Actually, racing here in Detroit is very complicated. It's a very tough street course. It is full of bumps, which makes it very difficult. The first 2 corners are very fast. You are going in 4 gear in the first one, and in the second corner you will be in 5 gear as soon as possible and preparing for the long straight. Then it comes a sector that is quite slow, and the patches change concrete. The grip changes, it depends on where you go on the track. And the second sector of the track has everything from bumps to jumps. Truly it is a difficult track, but that is what makes it fun. I believe that one of the key points to make a great qualifying is the car balance. We're not doing badly, but we must improve the balance a bit. The car is still going straight ahead, we must improve it for the race. It will be a very competitive race. If you take a look at the lap times, the Cadillac, Mazda and everyone else, we're all very close. That is why I believe this is going to be a very entertaining race.
100 minutes of street racing is ready to go around the narrow and physical Belle circuit. The number 6 and number 7 from Acura Team Penske bring the field of DPI and GT Daytona cars to the green flag. Right off the bat, Jonathan Bomarito in the number 55 Mazda takes second place right away from Helio Castroneves in the Acura. Castroneves loses another spot and falls to 4th after Pippo Durrani works around him before the second turn. Trouble farther back though, as it's 2 GTD cars in the tire barriers over in turn 1. The Lamborghini of Ryan Hardwick is able to drive away, but the WeatherTech Ferrari is unable to continue, and that's going to be enough trouble here for race control to bring out a full course caution. With 30 minutes to go after making a move for 3rd place on Felipe Nasser, Harry Tinknell's day in Detroit was looking good, until it wasn't. Contact with Steven Simpson in the very next corner sends the number 55 Mazda, who had a great start to the race, hard into the tire barriers, forcing race control to bring out another full course caution and ending the number 55's chances at a win in Detroit. Big move here late in the race as Colin Braun and Philippe Albuquerque work around GT Daytona traffic heading down the backstretch. The move puts Braun and the Nissan up 1 spot higher with just a few laps to go. Up front, Dane Cameron holds a 1.2 second lead over Felipe Nasr in the number 31 Cadillac. Nasr pushes hard here and is able to get within a second of the leading Acura, but it was too little, too late, as the number 6 of Dane Cameron stayed out front the entire final lap. No matter how close the Cadillac of Nasr got, Cameron was able to hold him off and score the second win in as many races for Acura Team Penske. And in GT Daytona, it was another close run to the finish line on the final lap. This time it was the Aim Vassar-Sullivan number 14 Lexus of Jack Hawksworth and Richard Heistand picking up their first victory just ahead of the number 73 Park Place Motorsports Porsche and their teammate, the number 12 Lexus of Townsend Bell and Frankie Montecalvo. IMSA WeatherTech Sports Car Championship standings. DPI class. LMP2 class. GT Le Mans. GT Daytona.
Hey, Jack Hawksworth here, driver of the number 14 Aim Vassar-Sullivan Lexus RCF GT3 car. Come join me for a lap of Belle Isle. Okay, so heading down the front straight here, a little bit bumpy under braking, try and get the car in nice and early, straddle that inside curb a little bit. You've got to set up nice because you need good exit onto this big long straight. There's a crest there, so the car kind of moves around as you jump over it, which is quite good fun. Longest straight on the circuit, looking probably about 400, hit the brakes there, get the car in, roll a lot of speed. The straight after this isn't very long, so exit's not too important. Then this is a fun corner. You use a lot of the inside curb, right out to the outside wall. It's easy to get a bit of a tank slapper there. This has changed a bit. You can't really see the apex of the corner. Takes a little bit of getting used to. And then this is turn 7. Really important to get a good exit. Get nice and close up to the wall. There's a little bit of camber there. Helps turn the car. Up the long straight. Bumpy. Looking for the braking. What I'm messing about with on the dash there. Nice straight braking, get your hands straight, roll good speed into the corner. Again, short straight after, so the exit's not too important. Get down in tight, really close to the curb but not on it. And then this corner, just a bit of maintenance, throttle through it, long left-hander, and then get it set up for this tight right-hander. A little bit of snap oversteer there on entry, but managed to hang on to it. Down this little straight into my favourite 2 corners on the circuit. Quick right-hander, 3rd gear. Roll speed through the corner and then just kind of maintenance throttle on the beginning of that corner and then on it hard and out to the apex, out to the exit wall. And that's a lap of Belle Isle.
Sí, superb run here for Jordan Taylor and the whole Auto House crew.
Winning at Belle Isle in a Chevrolet-powered car with Camaros and Corvettes, being in the hometown of GM with the Renaissance Center right in the background is a huge deal.
Jordan Taylor winning here in the Motor City. What a day.
Yeah, it doesn't get any better than that. We had a big talk before the weekend with the Chevy guys, and they told us we need to win this weekend, so we definitely felt the pressure. 2014 was actually my first win with my brothers and my teammate.
Jordan Taylor is the active IMSA driver with the most victories on the streets of Belle Isle, and he's been able to do it all behind the wheel of cars built by General Motors, who calls Detroit their home race.
It was a huge honor to be a part of, 3 in a row there in Detroit.
Ooh, top 3 racing movies.
Top 3.
Top 3 racing movies.
I think there's 3 racing movies, are they?
Movies?
I mean, there aren't really 3 good ones, are there?
I'm trying to think of 3 racing movies.
Definitely number one's got to be Talladega Nights. I mean, Ricky Bobby, whoever wrote that movie, is an absolute genius.
For sure, Talladega Nights.
Well, I mean, come on, Talladega Nights. I mean, that's got to be right at the top of the list.
Talladega Nights, of course. Crikey, how can I forget that one?
I love a good quote from Talladega Nights is always awesome.
Talladega Nights.
By far the best movie in racing.
Talladega Nights.
It's funny because when I go back to Europe, a lot of people, even in the racing industry, don't know that movie. But if you haven't watched it over here in the States, then, there's something wrong with you. You're missing out.
Ridiculously funny.
Every time I watch it, there's some little detail I pick up on.
That's a very accurate representation of what it's like to be a race car driver.
Number 2 is...
what's the one with Tom Cruise?
Days of Thunder.
Days of Thunder, that's the one.
Days of Thunder, of course.
Days of Thunder for sure. Days of Thunder.
Days of Thunder.
I gotta have Days of Thunder in there.
It was basically Top Gun redone in car racing, and I loved it.
Day of Thunder.
I still watch it to this day.
And number 3...
It's got to be Steve McQueen's Le Mans.
Le Mans.
I think that's probably a top answer from most people, but great movie and kind of portrays the coolness of racing for sure.
It's iconic. Steve McQueen, they don't talk for the first, whatever it is, 30 minutes.
And of course, Le Mans.
I would say Le Mans.
One of the best racing films there's ever been.
Other racing movies.
Loved Rush. I think that was really, really neat.
I think probably the only decent movie of racing, like proper, is you gotta say is Rush.
Let's go Rush.
The ability for someone that's not a racing fan to enjoy kind of what that story told was pretty cool.
Cars, I have 7 nieces and nephews.
Probably go with Cars. Yeah, I don't want to give too much credit to Driven.
Driven is obviously the best racing movie ever. That's got to be in the bottom 3.
The Lamborghini Super Trofeo is a championship organized by Lamborghini Scuderia Corsa and is sanctioned in North America by IMSA. For this championship, all racers pilot the Lamborghini Huracan Super Trofeo EVO, equipped with a monstrous 5.2-liter V10 capable of generating 620 horsepower. The Super Trofeo is raced on 3 different continents. Contested in Europe, Asia, and North America, the racing reaches worldwide. This year debuts the new format for the championship in the Middle East, which will take place in 2 rounds of 3 races each. The Continental Series have the same event format, 6 double-header race weekends with 50 minutes. The Continental Series have the same format, 6 double race weekends of 50 minutes each race on the best circuits in the world before the world finale that decides the Lamborghini Super Trofeo World Champions. The Lamborghini Super Trofeo is another great part of IMSA race weekends.
It's going to be a good old-fashioned street fight here in Detroit.
Track position, very important on any street circuit. In just over 100 minutes time, what will we be talking about in Michelin post-race tech? Where will be the turning point of the race?
It was victory for Acura Team Penske. Will it be the same again? Let's go! The Mazda of Jonathan Bomarito. What a start on the inside!
Oh, big move there. Van der Zandt nearly into the back of Barbosa.
using that Lexus to full advantage.
The real chess match around this racetrack with the traffic, AJ.
Look at the Acura side by side into turn one.
Dane Cameron slices down the inside of his teammate, takes that position away from Ricky Taylor, but look at Felipe Nasr. He's not looking to make a move as well.
Here's Dane Cameron now on Tristan Nunez for the lead of the race.
He's got fresh Michelin tyres, will have a ton of grip. He's the heavier race car right now, remember. Nunez, and he falls momentarily. Little mistake by Tristan. Cameron through.
Big move under brakes from Hawksworth, and Pat Long is going to give up 2 positions. Catherine Legg is there, no. Pat forces the Acura wide. Townsend Belle's there, ready to pounce.
This is fantastic. Talk about controlled aggression.
How about getting a little air? Jack Hawksworth's used to doing that on his dirt bike. Pat Long does it. Townsend does it. Catherine does it. Wow. Big move under brakes. Huge move under brakes for the 55 Mazda.
Harry Tinknell down to the inside, and that allows Simpson to run. He moves all the way up. Oh, there's contact there between the Mazdas in the fence. Colin Brand put the pressure on, and Jordan Taylor is through, but there may have been damage to the rear wing of that Konica Minolta entry. Look at that wobbling around right now. RGM going to finally be beaten on their home turf. Right now it's an Acura 1-2.
Oh, round goes Catherine Legg. Legg has spun while running 4th. Here's the wheel and engineering Cadillac.
This is
as
where
close as he's been.
He's on Dane Cameron, going to start to put the pressure. 8 minutes to go.
Can Dane Cameron hang on?
We talked about controlled aggression. Is there any control anymore, or is it just aggression? It's game on. Both those drivers want the win so badly.
Juan Pablo Montoya put the car on pole yesterday in an unbelievable fashion, and Dane Cameron's going to drive it all the way to the checkered flag in Roger Penske's hometown of Detroit. He had to fight off Mario Farnbacher at Mid-Ohio. This one has been somewhat more comfortable. Jack Hawksworth gives Aim Vassar Sullivan a win. There is James Sully Sullivan. There were different winners at every round of this year's IMSA WeatherTech Sports Car Championship. Not anymore. And boy, that was a busy 100 minutes of sports car action. Drivers, start your engines!
The racing on the streets of Detroit is done, but the action in 2019 is far from over. Teams in the IMSA WeatherTech Sports Car Championship pack up now before heading to upstate New York for the next round of the IMSA WeatherTech Sports Car Championship, the Salem 6 Hours of the Glen. Be sure to keep up with everything IMSA Racing on and off the track by following and liking IMSA Racing on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Until next time, we'll see you down the road on IMSA, the road to racing.